Welcome to Eagle Gaming. I'm your host, Crown, and today is April 11th, and we have for you today a Solar Auxiliary with Mechanicum allies list that we're going to go over, and we're going to talk about a little bit. And before we go too deep into this, I just want to say yesterday was the FAQ and errata that was posted. It's up for download. I did a quick reaction view video for it, and a lot of things changed. A couple of rules changed. Mechanicum got some changes to their actual detachments, where pretty much all the other rules, if I'm not mistaken, it was changes on how rules worked, how interactions works. Infiltrators can now infiltrate into buildings. That is clarified as a thing that they can do, and they can no longer charge on turn one. A couple of other things. A Master Tactician specifies that it is just one detachment that they can alter the orders of, and those orders have to have been available to them at the beginning of the turn. Couple of clarifications to things. A lot of changes how some of this stuff works. Changes how this list kind of works, because this list has some conveyors in it, and those conveyors can no longer transport the walkers. So things that are going to have to change. I had already been working on this list, and I'll make changes to it in the future, and we'll see we'll play it, see how it goes. But a lot of this list is just, this is what I've got available to me. This is what I've got built up, so that's why we're using it this way. But if you are new to this channel and you like this kind of content, subscribe so that you can see some more. And if you're liking this video, or if you like this video by the end, maybe the beginning is a little rough, but if you like it, hit that thumbs up so that I know I'm doing a good job, and YouTube knows that I'm doing good, and they will continue to recommend these videos to new people. But let's talk about this list. So as I said before, it is a Solar Auxiliary with Mechanicum allies list. And if you looked at that thumbnail, you might have been noticing something. You might have noticed something. You might be saying, Crown, you say this is Mechanicum allies. Are you forgetting you can only have 30% of your list be allies? Well, I didn't forget that. I took that into account. In fact, the primary goal of this list was I wanted to build something that had way more Mechanicum, way more allies than it has its actual faction of Solar Auxiliary. I thought that would be fun. And with that, I could have gone a little deeper into that by either taking out a Pioneer company, because, Pioneer companies are no longer quite as strong. They can't charge anymore. Now they're really just taking territory. Or I could have taken out the armored company that we're going to be talking about, but I wanted those tanks. I really want tanks in that, and I only have so many walkers for my Mechanicum right now, so I need to have something for all those battlesmiths to be fixing. So it's got to be tanks. It's going to be tanks, and it's going to be big tanks. It's going to be heavy tanks. It's going to be the good stuff. It's not too much though, because I could have gone more with it, but I want to have a bunch of Mechanicum. So that's why we're doing it this way, and we're gonna talk about the Pioneer Company. And we're going to have two Pioneer Companies. But this first Pioneer Company is going to have the Tactical Commander, not the good commander. This is just the tactical guy. I'll show you why in a second. You're going to have a Velatara Storm section of 4, and we're going to have a Rapier battery of 6. And use whichever Rapier battery you want to use. I'm going to be using all of the Rapier batteries I have for this force. And this is, if you're new here and you don't know this is my Locust Horde. Locust Host. This is my Locust Host. These guys are my traitor Solar Auxiliaries, and they will be allied up with my banished, my traitor Mechanicum forces. So we're gonna be using 6 Rapier batteries in a detachment, and 6 Tarantula batteries in a detachment. And personally, we don't have any aircraft for Mechanicum yet, so we don't have a very solid air defense for Mechanicum. And that means I wanted to have the Skyfire missiles in here. So we're using 6 of those guys. If you don't like Skyfire missiles and you want to use your las cannons, go for it. We're going to have a las tertio with 4, and they're going to have some additional Ogren to them, added to them in there, 4 of them. And that will let you run these guys around independent. It gives you a place for your commander to go. The Velatari are going to be charging in, and the Ogren are they've got independence, so they can be a bit ahead of the rest of the auxiliaries. And then, of course, Atheon Heavy Sentinel Patrol, because those things are still awesome. And they won't care that they can't charge on turn 1. The other guys, they do care that they can't charge on turn 1, but you're going to set them up in the buildings in the middle of the board, take control of the middle of the board, and you're going to use them to ambush the enemy as they try to come up in subsequent turns, in turn 2 and beyond. Let's move right into Pioneer Company 2. And this is pretty much the exact same. There's 2 differences. One, we're going to have the Legate Commander in here. And we are going to not have any more Tarantulas. We're going to have another battery of 6 Rapiers. And that is why we have the Legate Commander here. Because he is now in a larger formation that's not going to break as often. Now, if you wanted to, what you could do here is you could actually take that Las Tertio from the previous detachment, from the previous formation, and you could also include him in this one. But of course, you don't have an extra detachment that you could put them in, so you'd have to be adding them to this detachment. And it'll actually save you a few points on those Las rifles. You know, that could be a way for you to get something else in, maybe a little bit more of, if you've got more Las rifles, you could put them in there. But that will mean that your tactical commander will either have to hang out with the Rapiers, or with maybe with the Tarantulas, or he's charging in with those Vellatari. And then we got another Atheon Heavy Sentinel Patrol. And again, if you wanted to make this formation larger and have it be more beefed up and have a higher break point than the other one, you could take those. There is a second detachment of Sentinels that you could have in there, so you could do that. Or you could even combine them and you'll end up saving 20 points there. I like having them split up into a unit of 4. That way not all your eggs are in one basket. And that's the reason that I did it that way. Now, our third formation is going to be an armored company. And with that, here on this page, we're looking at 2 super heavy tank squadrons and 2 Layman Russ strike squadrons. And mine aren't modeled both with Vanquisher cannons. I got those battle cannons there, and they've got some heavy bolters. And I'll probably run them that way, but you know, feel free to. The better option would be the Vanquisher. The Vanquisher cannon and the Las cannon does do more damage, and the Mechanicum is kind of lacking that anti-tank punch, so I would go with those. Where do you put your commander really is a bit of a personal preference, and it's a bit of a how do you plan on using these guys. So I'm putting mine with the Layman Russes, because if I'm fighting anything that's got engine killer, that's just gonna pop. That's gonna take out a more of your durability, more of your super heavies quicker. Whereas the it doesn't matter how much of an engine killer you are, you're still only getting 1 Layman Russ. And if you are going to use the battle cannon or any other Layman Russ variant, I would put it on the Vanquisher cannon, because he's going to be more in the back. But you know, if you're pushing these guys forward, you want it on somebody that's going to be up close and able to issue out those orders, because you do still need orders. Then this is where we get into the fun stuff. We're going to use a support formation. It's going to be an Iron Cohort, of course, because that's what you get to use when you're auxiliary. And this is where we start to tip the scales towards having way more Mechanicum than we have Solar Auxiliary. So we're going to have a Legate Commander in this, and a Tech Priest, and a Las Rifle Tertio. And that's going to have 4 additional Flamers in it. So it's going to be an 8-man unit. You're going to have a Thalix Cohort of 8, and this is mostly because this is what I had, a Thalix Cohort of 2. It's a cheap little unit, 25 points, you get 2 guys, and it's, you know, extra activations, it's extra board control, you can leave them behind. They've got a move speed of 7, and infantry just lost a lot of speed by when they marched. 2 days ago, if an infantry unit wanted to march, it was moving 3 times its speed. As of today, as of yesterday, when you march an infantry unit, it now only moves double its speed. So they're a lot slower. But Thalix cohorts, they have jump packs, they have a 7-inch move, they're moving faster, and they're going to be, these guys, you can have them hang back, pick up an objective, and then you can run them forward in a subsequent turn. You can charge them in at somebody to tie them up. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. And they just got it's a downgrade on their anti-infantry ability. They lost their 10-inch their 10-inch light AT AP-1 one-shot gun, and they gained a 6-inch melt-a-gun shot. Anti-tank AP-3. Very good if you want to shoot them at tanks. You could zip these guys behind some tanks and you could shoot them in the rear arc, and now you got an AP-4 shot, and that's going to be beautiful. But they did lose. They lost some of that ranged ability to take out other infantry. And they could have shot at tanks with it too, but if you get 4 inches closer, now you're doing way more damage to the tanks. So don't worry about that. We're going to have a Castellax Maniple. And the Castellax Maniple is why this formation is going to get the Legate Commander, because this is going to be a larger unit than the next one that's coming up. And we are going to have Thanatars, unit of 2 Thanatars, and because it's what I had, I gave them the Solex Heavy Las. The Solex Heavy Las cost more points, because you're going to get the Wrecker Fist, which allows you to punch down a building. It is slightly worse than the Plasma Mortar. It's got better range than the Plasma Mortar, but the Plasma Mortar has higher AP. And isn't anti-tank, whereas the Heavy Las is anti-tank, so it's not going to be able to, it doesn't do anything to infantry, but that's fine, because you don't want to shoot at infantry anyway. It's got more range, and it's got armor bane. It's also what I had, so this is what I put in. I couldn't, I'm using pretty much everything I have for Mechanicum, and I'm trying not to have these guys sitting out, because then I wouldn't even have the points to make a full list. We're going to have the Arlatax Battle Maniple, and we're going to have 2 of those, and a Domitar Battle Maniple, and 2 of those again. And so the Arlatax, they charge in, and the Domitar, they are going to sit back and shoot missiles at things. They also have Wrecker on their fist, which is interesting because it's a slightly smaller fist. It's a significantly smaller fist by comparison, really. So where you put your Tech Priest and your Legate Commander. Right now, nothing says that you can't have them both in the same formation, and I'm putting them with the Las Rifles. The Las Rifles are slower than the Thalix and not as durable, but the Thalix are faster, so I don't want to lose their speed. I don't want to slow them down so that they can babysit these these attachments. The Castellax is a good place to put them, but you would only be able to put the Tech Priest there. You wouldn't be able to put the Legate Commander in there anyway. So it's kind of an up to you thing on how you want to do that. I'm kind of partial to having them this way, but I guess the Battlesmith with that Tech Priest, you want them to be around something to repair, and maybe putting him in with the Castellax is a good choice too, because then he'll be able to do stuff. They're slow, they're the same speed, and they got very short-range guns, so they all want to be moving up and getting closer. Let's look at the second cohort, and this is just going to pretty much have all the rest of the stuff, right? Again, it's 2 Thalix cohorts. We got an 8 and a 2. Everything else is the same, and then with the Thanatar Maniples and the Las Rifles, the Tech Priest, just a Tactical Commander, not a Legate Commander. The Tactical Commander does not have Master Tactician. The Legate Commander does, and that's why we need to keep him alive. We got a Vorax Battle Maniple, and those guys have forward deployment, so they can be used to get up into the midfield and start helping out a lot quicker. And then we have the Voltrex Stratos Maniple, and those things have a kind of missile. It's not the same missile launcher, and they got the Neuron Flux, and they're pretty quick, and they can pop up and fire their shots over buildings and then come back down and get back in cover. Good stuff, fun stuff. I got it set up the same way, but you could put your tech priest could go in with those Thanatars. They're just gonna be slower moving in the back. Now we get to the sub covenant, and this is the rest of our points. It's cheap enough that it's not going over our allies' detachment, and that makes it good. But it's also using pretty much everything else that I have. So we got an Archmagos on Aberrant. We got 3 Tech Thrall Covens, and 2 of those are going to be maxed out at 10, and 1 of them is maxed out at 6. Not maxed out, it's just at 6. Why do I have 1 of 6? Well, if you look at those guys, you might be able to notice that a couple of them... So what I did is I have 2.5 infantry boxes, and 2.5 infantry boxes builds 25 Tech Thralls. If you look in there, you'll see, I want to say 5 bases of 4. And what I did is I took 4 bases. I took off a guy. I guess I took 5 bases. Maybe it's 6. Yeah, 5. I took 5 bases. I took 4 bases. I took off a guy from each of those 4 bases. And those 4 bases gave me enough to put 4 guys on an additional base, so I'd have an extra base. Because when I realized I only had 2.5 sprues, I realized that I was going to end up with not enough to have... You can't take 1 base of Tech Thralls, so I did it that way. I did that, and I gave myself an extra base, and now I have 26 of these things. The Mechanicum Destructors, you'll have... They come in 2 pairs, 2 to a sprue, so you'll be fine. But the Secutors, I actually have another sprue. I have a 5th sprue that I can't use. And I was going to make 2 bases that only had 1 guy on it, but that was when they only had 1 gun. And now the way they changed things for these, Mechanicums is there's 2 dudes with different guns on each base, and there's 2 different guns on each, for each base. So, it's cool. I like that they did that. I feel like they probably intended to do that from the beginning, and they made a mistake. But yeah, so Mechanicum Destructor, a unit of 4 and a unit of 6. Detachment 4 and a detachment of 6. Detachment of 4 Secutors, because that's all I could use. I can't use that 5th guy. And then we have the last of our Thanatars. And these are all going to have the Plasma Mortars. And those are cool, because you can blow up buildings with them. They're 5 points cheaper than the other one. And they can no longer get into our Triaros armored conveyors. And then we have an Ursurix cohort of 8. I have 2 more of these guys, and you just can't put them in. There's no other slots. I need a whole nother Togmo sub-coven, and it just couldn't use them, and that was terrible, and I feel bad about that. But now what I originally would have done is I would have put some of those Thanatars into, or I would put all of the Thanatars into some of those conveyors. All 4 of them would have fit into 2, and now they don't anymore, so I can't do that. So you got a couple of options. The jump pack guys, the Ursurix, they count as 2 guys to a base in those conveyors. So you could put all 8 of those in all 4 of those conveyors, and that will give them a big mobility boost on turn 1. You could put 26 Tech Thralls. You could put a unit of 10 and a unit of 6 into those conveyors. And that is a lot of Tech Thralls to drop off in the middle of the board turn 1. You just march those guys up there, and then you drop them off, and now they're up there. Problem is they don't have great shooting, so they're not that great. But you've got a whole bunch of bodies on an objective, right? Or you've got a whole bunch of bodies stopping somebody from getting to an objective. You could also put your Mechanicum Secutors and Destructors in there, and if you do it right, I think 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you could end up fitting all of them into it. And that could be an option for you. You could even then attach your Archmagos to that unit of 6, and now they'll take up 2 conveyors, and then the other ones will take up 2. But what you need to be careful of, or rather I should say mindful of, is this formation has 1 transport slot. And you can put all 4 of those conveyors into that transport slot, and they all stay together as 1 unit of 4. And you can put whatever you want into those 4. and those things can be from different different detachments in the formation, as long as they are all, as everybody from a detachment gets in, right? So you can't put half of a detachment in there. You have to put the whole detachment, including any attachments to the detachment. Attachments to the detachment. That's funny. The limitation there is now those transports are moving as one group. You can't split them off. You can't have them go to different places. Alternatively, you can take dedicated transports. In fact, the entire formation, any infantry models may be upgraded with the armored conveyors as dedicated transports. So you can do that. You can have as many dedicated transports detachments as you have infantry detachments, and they'll just ride along with that. So you can split these up. But if you do that, you will end up having the dedicated transports don't count for determining the breakpoint of your formation. They do count for determining, has your formation broken. So if you had a formation of 20 infantry and 20 transports, and you lost 20 transports and 1 infantry, you are now below half strength, and you have that's just rough example. Whereas if you, no, wait, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. That would be if they were all within transport slots, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, right? But if you had 20 infantry and 20 transports and you lost 10 transports, you're broken if they're dedicated transports. Does that make sense? So dedicated transports do not count for determining the breakpoint. So you would be saying, hey, I have a 10 breakpoint on these 20 models, but these 20 models, if any of them die, they count towards getting to that breakpoint. They count towards that 10. All right. So I would, when you're making your list, when you're determining who gets the transport, if you said, all right, we're going to use 2 transports for the Mechanicum Destructors, and the Archmagos is going to go with them for the unit of 6. And then we'll have a unit, we'll give the dedicated transport to the Mechanicum Destructor and a dedicated transport to the Secutor, to the units of 4. And if you do it that way, so that the unit of 2 is counting, whereas the 2 units of 1 aren't counting. Because if you did 1 unit of 1 counts and then the other 3 don't count, you're not getting as good value, right? All right, so I have for you all, I have made, just as I did in the past, in the last time we did a battle, not a battle report, an army list, I made a 2,000 point list that is a little bit more budget friendly. And the problem with that there's a problem with the 3K list that I just made, right? This is what I have available to me for these guys. I have 2.5 infantry boxes of Mechanicum. I have 1 Mechanicum transport, 1 Mechanicum Thanatars, and 1 Mechanicum Automata, Battle Automata, or whatever the title of it is, right? And it'd be nice. I need to get more of the Battle Automata, so I have more walkers that can be repaired and everything, and that would make for a better list to go with it. That could allow me to make a list that takes more advantage of the Battlesmith, right? I don't have that, and I couldn't make that, and now you're sitting here trying to make a list with 2.5 infantry boxes, and that's kind of weird, right? So here's a 2K list that is a bit more budgeted and tries to use everything that it has coming to it, right? And we're just looking at, from left to right, it's a Cybernetica cohort, with an Archmagos on Aberrant, another maxed out Thalix cohort, a Tech Priest, the Artilex and the Castellex and the Vorax, and they're all just as all that you get in a box of Battle Automata, and then 2 Voltrix squadrons of 1, so that you can split them up and kind of have them do their own thing. You could also split up the Vorax; it doesn't matter. Because and then you just have to, you can only split one of those 2 units, one of those 2 names, right? the Voltrex have to go together if you want to have the Vorax split up. And you could actually probably split the Vorax, and then you've got 2 different units of forward deployment that you can use to get further up the board in the beginning of the game. And when I made this, the Triaros conveyors could transport those things. So they are at the bottom of this detachment, but you're probably going to need to move them to the Tagma subcovens. They could all transport that Thalix cohort because jump pack troops count as bulky and take up 2 spaces. Each of those has 4 spaces, 16. Yeah, that would all fit. So, the Tagma subcoven is an Archmagos Prime, and to save points, I just put him on, he's walking on his feet, he doesn't have the Aberrant. You got 2 tech thralls there, minimum size, and we're actually not going to, we're going to end up leaving about 4 tech thralls behind that just didn't fit in the points here. We got a Memorandon Secutor unit of 4, and a Destructor unit of 4, and an Ursarex cohort of 4, and a Thanatar Maniple of 4. And these are all the Plasma Mortals. And I didn't say it earlier, but this box, this list is using your infantry, 2 infantry boxes. If you buy the battle group, it's a battle group plus 1 infantry box of Mechanicum. And then from there, what you could do is you could get another armored, automata box, and go from there. And then for the, we left out all of, this list is not a Solar Auxiliary with Mechanicum allies. It's a Mechanicum list with Solar Auxiliary allies, and all we're going to have is a Layman Russ squadron and a Super Heavy squadron. And that's just 2 boxes. So what this is it's 3 boxes plus a battle group. Or, and the battle group gives you savings and it's still available for purchase. Otherwise, it would be, let's see, 5 boxes of Mechanicum and 2 boxes of Solar Auxiliary. Which isn't too bad. That's 8 boxes total. Not 8 boxes, 7 boxes total. And would cost about roughly, you know, $350 US dollar, right? Yeah, $350 US dollar. We've got another Tagma subcoven. It's got another Archmagos Prime on foot, 2 more units of tech thrall by 4, and the Domitar Battle Maniple, and a Memorandon, the last 4 of our Memorandon Destructors, the last 4 of our Ursarex cohort, and the last 4 of our Thanatars. And this uses everything except for 3 Tech Priests and an Archmagos Prime. And there just wasn't any points left for it. And it ends up, you know, you've got 4 guys that are giving out that aura for your Cybernetica cohort, Cybernetica Cortex, and it's got 4 guys that are giving out that that aura for, it's a 3-inch aura for Battlesmith. You put your Tech Priest in with the Castellex. You put your Archmagos in with maybe, well, it doesn't really, maybe you put him with the Thalix cohort. They'll move a little bit slower, but, and they won't be able to jump on top of buildings. In the second and third formation, you can put your Archmagos in with, the Thanatars. They're really slow doing it that way, but or you can put them in with the Memorandons, but the Thanatars are, a bit more resilient, a bit harder to kill. And then your armored company, of course, is just that Lemon Rust squadron and the Super Heavy squadron. So that's the list. That's both lists. That's both of them, all of them. Quite a few activations. I think it's like 30 plus for the 3K list, and it's a little bit, it's quite a bit less for the 2K list. It's a lot of infantry, and when I made it, infantry was a lot stronger. But that was also true when I made all of my Mechanicum stuff. So, and I've kind of wanted to do this list for a minute, but I couldn't really do it without having the guys, and I was sick for a little bit, and then I just started working on more painting stuff, and I guess I'm kind of glad that I'm not posting this until today, where we know that there's changes to how the game works, where we know that this FAQ has come out. We know that looking at the list, we still built it with that knowledge we still built it prior to that knowledge, so we can look at it and we can compare it, and we can make changes to it as we go forward in the future. But what do you think? I want to hear your opinions. Do I need to alter my entire plan for what I am building and painting next so that I can get more walkers into this Mechanicum list? And what changes would you like to see in this list? Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading them, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. I am going to post up a list to fight this for Solar Auxiliary. My cog, they are going to have to survive this ambush that is coming upon them. And we will talk about that next week. And we will have a battle report shortly thereafter. As always, you guys have been wonderful. This has been Eagle Spire Gaming. Thanks for flying by.